Welcome to the Sunday Gardener, and it's a Sunday afternoon in late February. The weather's not up to very much, but beginning to think about the coming season. And in late February and early March, you can start sowing seeds indoors, providing you've got somewhere where you can keep them warm, grow them on. This time of year, seeds need to be sown inside. I'm going to sow seeds in the conservatory. You can sow them in a porch, you can sow them on a windowsill. At the moment, it's still too cold to sow outside, so we're going to look at what you can sow, and we're going to look at some tips to make sure that when you sow, you have successful germination. And the other thing about growing from seed is it's really good fun. You get a great deal of satisfaction looking at things that you've grown from seed and hopefully eating them in the summer. So I have here a selection of seeds, and some seeds are easier to grow and germinate than others. Seeds like this, broad beans, these are really big seeds. So they're very easy to handle and they're very easy to germinate because they're so large. It's also, some seeds are very, very fine, and that's a little bit more difficult because you need to sow seeds thinly. And if the seed's really fine, it's like dust, it can be quite difficult. I keep seeds in tins because they keep better. And here, this is a packet of last year's seeds. First of all, I always sow last year's seeds. Why not? Because if they germinate, you don't have to buy so many seeds. And many seeds will germinate year after year. One of the problems about seeds is that they're not all viable in a packet. The EU regulations, some seeds only have to be viable 65%. So don't think it's your fault if they don't germinate. It might be the seed's fault. There are no minimum levels that I'm aware of in relation to flower seeds, so it can be a bit hit and miss, but if you follow these tips you will get good germination. The hard work's been done before this video started. All the seed trays have been washed and you will see they are remarkably clean, they're not new. One of the major problems failing of seeds is that they germinate, they collapse and they die, and that's caused by fungus. It can be a problem if you've got an area where there's not a lot of airflow and it's a bit on the warm side. It can cause damping off. Cleaning all the seed trays before you start is a good thing to try and prevent it. And although it's tedious, if you've got time, it's worth doing. You'll need good quality compost, and I've got a tub of compost here and it's been in the conservatory for a couple of days. The reason for that is that compost outside at this time of year is really cold. If you buy it from the garden centre, it's probably been stacked outside for weeks, it's very cold, and if you put the seeds straight into really cold compost, they're not going to get off to much of a start. What seeds need to germinate is warmth and moisture. And so we're going to look at how to make sure we have both of those. Sowing inside will provide a lot of the warmth, but you need to put seeds in a propagator because if they dry out, they will die. So you might get them to germinate, but if they dry out, the seedling will just die. So you've got to keep those things in mind, moisture and warmth. I'm going to use a heated, here is a heated propagator mat because it's still early in the season, it's still quite cold in this conservatory. That will give just enough heat to get these seedlings going. Different types of seeds do better in different types of containers, and this is why I've got several out. These are root trainers. Quite a deep shape to allow a long roots growth, and some seeds such as sweet peas, and beans do better in root trainers. If you're only going to grow one or two of something such as courgettes, 2 courgette plants often produce a lot of courgettes, then I'd often put those just into a small pot. And some seeds, if say I'm going to grow lettuces, I'll probably grow them in a tray such as this. I like the individual modules, they're easier to manage. Don't be tempted to sow different seeds into a seed tray. I've done this and it is a mistake because they germinate at different rates. Germinate and grow at different rates. So if you've got this in a propagator and you've got lettuces on one side, spring onions on the other side, and your spring onions have all grown and your lettuces haven't, you can't take it out of propagator. One of the keys to growing from seed and getting good seedlings is not to keep the seed trays and the root trainers and the pots in the propagator too long. If they're in a very warm and very moist environment for too long, the seedlings will become quite weak and quite sappy. So as soon as these are up and established, you want to take them out and put them somewhere else, perhaps onto a rack such as we have here. Move them out so that they're still in a protected environment, but more space and more air. So don't be tempted to seed lots of different things into one tray because it doesn't always work very well. So here is the root trainers that I've been filling with compost ready for seeding. They look quite full, but actually there are air pockets in there. And when you press down on the compost to firm it down, some of them will drop down quite a distance. So it's quite important that whatever type of container you're using, that you just firm down the compost and fill it up to the right level. And here's another little pot which is quite full of compost, but as you can see, as you press down on it, the compost sinks down because of the air pockets. So it's really important that you firm it down and top it up. The other thing is about watering. This compost is really dry because it's been in the conservatory for several days. Normally I'd use a mister to mist it rather than a watering can, but it's so dry I'm actually going to use a watering can, otherwise the seedlings are going to go into very dry compost. You can use either a watering can or a mister, but it's important that your compost is damp, not saturated but damp, before you put the seeds into it. So here are the seed trays. They're all full of compost. I filled them all up, firmed it down so there's no air pockets. They're not completely full, so there's room to put some compost, sprinkle some compost over the top after we've seeded, and they've all been watered because this compost was very dry. So we're ready to sow some seeds. I'm going to sow some cucumber seeds into the single pots. Some sweet peas, they like the long root, so they're going to go in the root trainers, and because they're really, really nice, I'm going to sow some red little gems which are going in the seed tray. So here's the cucumber seed. And there was 4 in that packet, so I'm going to sow 2 now. Hope I get germination of both. So these are the cucumber seeds. You can see they're quite a large seed. They're going both into this individual pot. Make 2 little holes with the dibber is the easiest way, and then just drop the seed in. Cover it with a little bit of compost. It's really important to label your pots. I always think, I'll remember what I've got in them. In a month or so's time, when I've got racks of seedlings, sometimes it is quite difficult. And also you want to know which variety you've got, because this variety is one I haven't grown before. So I want to know how well it grows. So it's a good tip to remember to label it. This tray I'm going to sow lettuce into, and I really like lettuce, and these little red gems are very, very nice. I grew them last year. They were easy to grow, but just look at the seed. Here we go. I'll open the seed packet right up, which I wouldn't do normally, but that way you can see what the seed is like. This is the lettuce seed, and I've opened the packet right up so you can see it. It's very, very small and it's not easy to handle. The reason that you aim to sow seeds thinly is because if they're crowded together, they're more likely to get damping off. And also, it's harder to thin out the seedlings if they're sown together. But this seed is very, very difficult to sow thinly. But if you can get it between your fingertips and just try and drop 1 or 2 into each of the modules. There we go. That went quite well. We've got 1 or 2. And then what you need to do is cover the seedlings with just a very, very light covering of compost. Now lettuce will germinate at quite a low temperature. And then just pat it down very, very gently. The compost is already wet, it's already watered, so that will be fine. And into this one, the root trainers will go the sweet peas. You need root trainers for peas, beans, all types of beans, all types of sweet peas. Here we have the sweet pea seeds, and you can see in complete contrast to the lettuce, this is quite a good size seed. Some people advocate nicking the sides of these seeds before you sow them because the shell is quite hard. I never seem to have time to do that, but they always germinate well, so I would sow them as they are. So I just make a small hole in each of the individual cells and then drop the sweet pea in. And then obviously you're just going to do that all the way across the seed tray, and again cover very lightly with the compost. Tapping it down just so that they've got a light covering. Now the next thing, which is the most important thing, is to tuck them up in the propagator. This is what creates the warm atmosphere. It contains the heat, it keeps them moist, and that's really important. Now I'm going to plug in the heated propagator mat, but that's because I'm sowing so early in the year. It's February. By the time we get to March in this conservatory, I won't need anything like that. But I like to get sowing early in the year, so I'm going to use that to get some heat. These seeds will germinate in about 10-14 days, and as soon as they've started to get established, I will move them out of the propagator, because it is and will be very warm and quite a wet atmosphere in there, and I'll put them onto these racks where they are still in a protected environment, and they will grow on to make good sturdy seedlings ready for planting out later in the year. So the tips for successful germination of seed is to make sure you use clean seed trays, good quality compost, that it's watered before you seed, and that you use a propagator. And hopefully you'll have good germination and enjoy growing your seeds.